Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking a massive global historical mystery together, and it's an absolutely fascinating one. For centuries, we've all looked up at the night sky and pretty much just assumed we know what's out there, right? We picture this endless, empty vacuum. But what if the void as space isn't actually a void at all? Today we're going to explore a secret that's been hiding in plain sight across almost every ancient culture on Earth. It's a concept that modern science is literally just now beginning to accidentally uncover. Okay, let's dive right into this strange space mystery. We're going to start with a pretty shocking revelation from Igor Volk. Now, he wasn't just some random pilot. We're talking about a highly decorated Soviet cosmonaut, a literal national hero, and an aviation legend who tested practically every aircraft imaginable. But in a 2014 interview with Bulgarian journalist Stoicho Karev, he just completely shattered the standard narrative of space exploration. He said, and I quote, "We haven't flown in space. We just orbit here in low Earth orbit. The moon is in space." He privately admitted to Karev that astronauts simply don't actually know what is truly up there. He firmly believed the public has been fed a completely inaccurate picture of what exists beyond our atmosphere. And the best part? When the journalist warned him that saying this would make viewers question everything they knew, Volk just smiled and said he loved that. He felt people really needed to start thinking for themselves. Which naturally leads us to a massive, fascinating question. If we're really just orbiting in some lower layer, and space isn't the empty vacuum we always thought it was, what exactly is up there? Well, to answer this, we actually need to pivot away from modern aerospace for a second and travel thousands of years back into ancient history. Because long before rockets and satellites were even a thought, ancient people were asking this exact same question. And their answer? It was universally surprising.
Let's look at the concept of the sky sea in world myths.
Taking a global tour of world myths, we start to find this incredible breadcrumb pattern. From the philosophers of ancient Greece to the sages of Asia, these cultures didn't look up and see an empty vacuum. Instead, they believed in a primordial cosmic ocean. They genuinely saw the heavens as this vast, fluid body of water stretching out endlessly above us. In Babylon, they called the celestial ocean Tiamat. Down in Egypt, it was Noon. The Greeks, they had Oceanus. In India, it was Samudra. And even up in the freezing ice of the Norse civilizations, they spoke of the Eli Vagar, this celestial sea that literally never freezes. So how did completely disconnected cultures, we're talking from the ice of Scandinavia to the deserts of Egypt, all end up sharing the exact same, highly specific belief in a cosmic sea? And when we compare the specifics of these myths side by side, the consistency is just mind-blowing. Take the Babylonian text Enuma Elish from around 1200 BC. It describes the god Marduk splitting the primordial ocean Tiamat right in half, creating an upper sea and a lower sea, and literally putting guards in place so the upper waters wouldn't flood down. Meanwhile, the Egyptian Book of the Dead describes humans essentially living inside a protective air-filled bubble within the watery infinite abyss of Nun. Both cultures shared this identical concept. There is an upper atmospheric water barrier holding back a much larger cosmic abyss.
And this brilliantly illustrates that this wasn't just an Eastern Hemisphere phenomenon either. Crossing the Atlantic, the exact same watery sky myth prevailed in the ancient Americas. The Aztecs called it Teotihuacan, the Maya called it Siajkan, and the Inca referred to it as Mamacocha. Despite the vast geographical distances separating these people, the core blueprint remained absolutely identical. Life began from a celestial sea, and we exist in a little pocket within that immense cosmic ocean.
So how did this translate over time? Let's trace the celestial ocean into later religions. Now, as we shift the narrative chronologically, you might naturally expect these ancient mythological concepts to get totally erased by the rise of the later Abrahamic religions. But they weren't. In fact, these exact ideas of a celestial ocean were codified directly into their sacred texts. Just look at the Book of Psalms, which states, "Praise him, you highest heavens, and you waters above the heavens." This concept is heavily prevalent throughout. The book of Genesis explicitly mentions the Spirit of God hovering over the waters before creation was even fully formed. And during the story of Noah's flood, the text literally describes the windows of heaven opening up and the great deep pouring down, heavily implying that vast reservoirs of water were physically suspended above the earth. We see this exact same theme outside the canonical texts as well. Apocryphal and Gnostic texts describe the upper layers of this cosmic ocean using the term pleroma. But they didn't just describe it as regular old water. They envisioned it as layers of varying density, almost like liquid glass or fluid light, containing the literal seeds of all life on Earth. They pictured this beautifully layered fluid-like heaven above us.
We find this mirrored perfectly in the Quran too, which notes, "Have those who disbelieved not considered that the heavens and the earth were a joined entity, and we separated them and made from water every living thing?" It neutrally presents that exact same Babylonian and Egyptian concept of a joined entity, an upper and lower water, being pulled apart to create a habitable space for us. Interestingly, the text actually challenged unbelievers to look around and understand the evidence of this separation, even though skeptics of that era just dismissed these concepts as nothing more than tales of the ancients. But here is where the story gets really incredible. Modern science is finally revealing the secret.
Think about it. Those ancient texts challenged people to observe the evidence of this separated celestial ocean. But for thousands of years, humanity simply lacked the tools to verify any of it. Well, the narrative is finally coming full circle. The scientific consensus has been rapidly shifting over the last few decades, starting in 1998 with Dr. Robert Dudley, followed by research from Vandenbrooks in 2010, Sandoy Sohm in the journal Nature in 2016, and right up to a fascinating 2025 paper by American physicist Dr. Marvin Herndon. Together, this growing body of modern scientific consensus essentially proves that the early Earth did not have the thin, breathable atmosphere that we know today. Let's look a little closer at Dr. Dudley's 1998 research, which focuses on the Carboniferous period. He studied prehistoric dragonflies, and we're talking about insects the size of seagulls here. Physics tells us they are physically far too heavy to fly in today's air, so his research suggested they didn't fly in air at all. Instead, they essentially swam in a hyperdense, fluid-like ancient atmosphere that was attached to the Earth. It completely changes how we have to visualize ancient movement. Just imagine a giant dragonfly basically doing the breaststroke through the sky. So, the crucial point is this stunning conclusion from Dr. Marvin Herndon in 2025. The Earth was a compressed giant wrapped in a super-dense atmosphere. The sky was an ocean of another kind. Modern physics has quite literally blurred the line between what we consider air and what we consider liquid in Earth's deep past. According to cutting-edge science, the sky really was an ocean. The physical evidence we're uncovering today remarkably matches those so-called tales of the ancients. It strongly suggests that these religious and mythical texts weren't just made-up fairy tales. They were actually preserving a literal prehistoric scientific reality. Remember how the Quran stated a book was sent down for your remembrance? Well, some scholars now suggest this was actually addressing today's modern generation, our generation, because we finally possess the advanced scientific tools and physics to prove this ancient fluid sky actually existed. Which leaves us with a truly fascinating question to ponder as we wrap up. Were the myths of the ancients simply science that we just didn't understand yet? The next time you look up at the night sky, you might just be looking at the ghost of a celestial ocean, completely changing how we perceive our place in history. Thank you so much for joining this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and as always, keep looking up.